So, Sierra's movement kind of sucks. It's not the worst, but it could be a lot better, and there are some things that you can do to squeeze the most value out of it possible, as well as things that I would suggest to the devs that they can do to make it a lot better. Hey everybody, and welcome to Honeybee Entertainment. I'm your host B, and today I'm going to be sharing with you everything I found with Sierra as far as text and movement goes after a full 24 plus hours of playing this hero, not to mention the countless hours that I have spent in custom games. So, let's jump right into it. I typically would build, base tech and then go from there, but I'm just going to go right into my Magnus Opum and share with you the one thing that I feel I haven't seen anyone else share, and I've been able to kind of start to do consistently. So, about a week ago, I got this clip while playing Village on Nepal. I was very confused in the moment, and I made sure to clip it because I kind of slid across the ground there and then had the big pop-up at the end. It's a little strange, so I slowed it down and I went back and watched it over and over again, went to Nepal and just started trying everything I could, all of the variables, see if I could figure it out. But I had no real luck there, and I kind of was just gonna chalk it up as a weird glitch or some really crazy environmental thing that just happened. But then about a week or so later, I got this clip. This was just earlier this week. And then, again, just yesterday, this. Between those 2 days, I already went into the custom game and was on Ilios trying to redo this clip and just could not figure it out. I start every once in a while, I would just randomly get it and trying every permutation that I could find. But it was basically after this happened here on Route 66 that I said, okay, there's something here and I'm gonna find it. So here's everything that I have found so that you all can try to get this, maybe, find out more than me and find out a way that this can actually be done consistently every single time, especially if you know the spots. So, I went into a custom game and turned Sierra's cooldown for her drone to 0 and just started going crazy, trying to find anything that I could related to this. For the most part, I spent a lot of time on the spawn doors of Ilios. It seemed like a really easy place that I could slowly take every single variable and either, emphasize it or remove it from the equation. After literal hours of doing this, I felt like I had figured things out, only to then question if I was getting anywhere. Oftentimes it got to the point where I quite literally was saying, I'm not sure if I'm crazy. Like, am I actually, is this even happening? Or is it just a weird thing with the way
I'm gonna figure it out. This is my contribution to the Overwatch world. This is my contribution to the Overwatch world.
Yeah, that'll hold.
It's possible. I literally am like, am I crazy? Am I making this up? No. It's real.
However, this morning, I literally was thinking about this in my sleep. I got up and just got on and started going for it, and in about just a couple of minutes, I got it. I figured it out. So here is everything I'm doing. We'll break it down, we'll go slow, and we'll look through these different clips that I've gotten and just kind of break down everything that I've been able to figure out. Maybe some of this stuff is either irrelevant or there still is things that I'm misunderstanding. So However, when you go in and try this, let me know. So the main thing is that you need a surface that you have a little bump as though you're changing levels. However, you can't have ground under you, or I'm sorry, you can't have air under you. It would appear that it's less than you'd need for like a B-hop. It has to just basically be a tiny step down. The next thing is the camera angle. I have very occasionally gotten a weird one where I don't look down so far, but for the most part, I've just been having the most success basically just looking at my feet quickly and then snapping back up to look at the drone, which would be the next thing. It seems that you kind of have to like look up as you're going so that your crosshairs actually go through Dorothy. And the other thing is you cannot jump. Like you don't want to release early. You need to go all the way through the grapple. And the last thing to note is that the way that you are stepping also matters. Here on this clip on Eichenwald, you can see I'm actually walking backwards because I've had this happen multiple times where if I'm walking up one of these surfaces while doing it, you actually get pushed down at the end of the grapple. More than you normally would, where you kind of like launch out longwards. This is almost like a straight curve down. So that also is a useful tech, one that was an accidental find, but I feel like the launch is the one that I would be wanting more often. So that's what I'm kind of hammering in on. So you want to make sure that you are falling off of the high ground to the lower surface. If you're going up, you'll be pushed down after the grapple instead of up. So yeah, obviously I've just been playing these clips in the background. These are a few of the places I've found. It still is fairly inconsistent, but the fact that I, especially kind of just going into the maps after figuring it out and being able to spot some spots, makes me think that there's going to be a lot of these spots that can be found and potentially can be mastered on these different maps. So with all of that in mind, let's just jump right into my base guide now. The very first thing that I would say that I have seen some people mention that you should have on, go into your settings for Sierra and make sure that this setting right here, double jump, is off. The reason for that is that doing a B-hop is going to be a pretty crucial thing for making use of the grapple. Even though I would love for the grapple to constantly be just the tool that's used for getting to high grounds and whatnot, you're going to be wanting to use it just to navigate the map quickly. So you shoot the drone at about a 45-degree angle, maybe a little bit lower. You grapple to it without jumping, and as soon as you detach from the grapple, you hold jump, and then you get a B-hop when you hit the ground. If you cancel the grapple early, however, you can just hold the jump button after you are already in the air. The reason we don't want to jump at the very beginning is that even though you can reset, if you want, after you release from your grapple early, you can just hold jump again. It doesn't matter if you release it the first time and then hold it the second time. However, that does not apply. If you jump before you grapple, you'll get no B-hop. And that brings me to my first kind of actual useful tech that can be done everywhere and all the time. I'm going to call it the Honeybee hop because I can't. Alright, in order to do this, the first thing you're going to do is shoot your grapple about 35 to 40 degrees up in the air. You can do it shorter, but it's just going to work a little better if it's higher. Grapple to the drone, and then pretty much immediately you're going to cancel it and hold your jump button in order to B-hop so that you're just about under the drone, and then you're going to hit drone again, and you're going to get launched straight up because you're now under the drone. You can do this in order to kind of move quickly forward and then get to a high ground. It's going to consume, obviously, both charges of your drone, but it's pretty snappy and it's a little bit quicker and more unpredictable than you would be if you just did a straight grapple forward. The big thing to note here is that if your drone is not high enough, or if you land too close to the drone, sometimes there won't be enough distance for you to actually activate the tether to the drone. So that's going to be the one thing there to really work out and get under control. But other than that, I would say this is fairly easy to do. You can do it a lot of places. The next thing would be more environmental type stuff, as well as a few notes of just things that you should be doing. I already mentioned it earlier, but you really should be canceling your grapple pretty much as often as possible. There's really no reason to ride it out all of the time. A lot of times if you're trying to get to high ground, you can cancel it early, and your vertical momentum will continue to take you just over the edge. That way you're landing just on the edge and not landing way above it. This also can allow you to shoot your drone a little bit higher, so that maybe you can pull yourself back out after you've landed inside of a window or something along those lines. The next thing would be a both environmental and tip. You should be putting your drone onto a wall as often as possible or on the edge of a ledge. This allows your drone to be in cover because it makes it a lot harder for the enemy to shoot it, and you don't get any less effect from it. If you put it right here in a corner, as you can see, and then grapple to it, you end up just getting pushed up. Obviously, this is going to take a little bit of finesse to learn the distance, because if you go too low, you won't get enough push up in order to get to the ledge. However, this allows you to basically give yourself a two-use staircase up to a place with a good deal of consistency, considering that your drone isn't going to get shot quite as often. And then there's also this. And this. There's a lot of random spots that I have found. I'm sure that we're going to find a lot more of these places where you can kind of just launch yourself into the air, or there's weird, goofy environmental stuff. So, more to come on that if it's found. But I think that's just about it for the techs, and we're going to go into suggestions for the devs, things that I think are really simple, and some stuff that's potentially a little bit bigger and more full hero reworky. Alright, we are going to start with the lowest hanging fruit possible, that being that drone is on way too long of a cooldown. Like, this cooldown is what it should be if she had 2 charges of drone. Which brings me to my first suggestion. Drone CD either basically needs to get cut in half, or you just need to give her 2 charges of drone. You still would get 2 uses of each drone, but that would mean if you want to do anything like this, you would 100% have to cancel the first drone in order to get any distance forward. So, yeah, easy peasy. The next thing is concerning movement lock during the pull animation for drone. As it stands right now, one of the other big uses of canceling drone early is that you get aerial movement after you cancel from the drone. While you're still on the tether, you can't really go anywhere. There are tons of places where you can pull yourself through the environment, but it's not really the same as being able to move while in this. So if we could get just some sort of lateral left and right movement while being pulled forward, that would be really cool. If they can also maybe emphasize whatever this weird tech is, have some sort of interaction between your camera angle and Dorothy. That way, if you're looking up or down in relation to Dorothy, it changes how you actually interact while being pulled. Now, a couple of bigger, more hero rework type things. The first one that I would really love would be something that involves climbing to some regard. My one thought would be either like a wall climb, or the other thing would be this would also be a thing, is grapple having some sort of swing mechanic as well. My thought is almost a combination of both. I feel like you should be able to use the drone in 2 different ways, with a condition being put on one of them. The way I see this working is that Sierra would basically be able to do a 2-step, 3-step wall climb, which just about any coordinated athletic adult can do. And if she does kind of push herself up and off of the environment, when she grapples to Dorothy, she will have more of a wrecking ball type arc swing. Potentially she could also get some sort of interaction that Wrecking Ball gets where she can close the distance to Dorothy by holding jump or something along those lines. And if they also added in the lateral movement on base Dorothy, that also would be applied. And the last thing that maybe should have gone before the whole rework, which would be doing something with crouch. Mercy has super jump, just something that maybe crouch is what allows you to change the way that you come off the drone. Maybe, you get that little boost when you get to the drone, and if you're holding crouch, you're able to choose almost omnidirectionally which direction you're going to go. I don't know, that way you just give a lot of nuance to it with a pretty low barrier as far as skill level is concerned. And I think that is just about it. Like I said, I have spent so much time in custom games trying to figure this out, and I hope that this is something that the community can really play with and find more use out of Sierra's tech, because right now it really does feel like it's lacking. The drone is supposed to be the cool part of her kit, but it's just not quite polished, and I think that any number of these changes would really help to bring more dynamic and nuanced play to the hero. So with all of that being said, thank you so much for listening. Let me know in the comments if you go and test this, if you find things that are unnecessary with the things that I've already pointed out, things that you have found, if there's any spots that you've been able to replicate or places that other people can try. Make sure to drop that all in the comments. And thank you all so much for listening again. I have been B, and this has been Honeybee Entertainment. Have a great night.